You come into the world with a small crack, a crack in the egg you've been packed into for the last 2 months, and your reward for all that effort? A face full of Antarctic wind so cold it feels like Mother Nature herself just slapped you. Forget warmth or soft cuddles. This is the Antarctic, where your first big life lesson is get used to it. Your dad's been sitting on your egg for weeks now. No food, no Netflix, just standing there keeping you warm while occasionally staring into the void, questioning his life choices. But let's not romanticize it. You're basically a foot warmer he's been dragging around while braving wind gusts that could probably knock over a truck. Now that you've hatched, he gives you a quick glance, lets out a tired sigh, and waddles off to finally get some food. Because let's face it, he deserves a break, and you? Well, you're on your own now. Welcome to life as an emperor penguin chick. Congratulations. You're now 2 days old, and here you are, stuck on the iciest, bleakest place on Earth, surrounded by thousands of penguins who are just as cold and miserable as you. Food? You'll get some, eventually. Dad's out there sliding across the ice like a feathered bowling pin, trekking miles just to reach the open ocean. Once he gets there, he'll dive into water so cold it would make most creatures faint, all to bring back some pre-chewed fish for you. Meanwhile, you're stuck here doing your best impression of a fluffy snowball in a never-ending blizzard. Luckily, you're not entirely alone. You've got your fellow chick pals to keep you company. Sure, they're just as clueless as you, but at least you can huddle together for warmth. A few weeks in, you've learned that the huddle isn't just about warmth, it's about survival. Stray too far from the group, and you'll quickly find out that skuas, those giant, menacing seabirds, have a thing for baby penguin snacks. Let's just say you're not eager to end up as lunch, so you stay close and waddle awkwardly to keep up. Inside the huddle, things are fine. Sure, it's warm, but it's also cramped, loud, and smells like a penguin convention after taco night. The adults take turns rotating positions so everyone gets a chance in the warm center, which sounds nice until you realize the middle is also where you're most likely to get pooped on. Small price to pay for not freezing to death, I guess. Just when you think you can't handle another minute of shivering, Dad finally returns. And guess what? He's brought food. Granted, it's partially digested fish that he spits directly into your beak, but hey, it's better than nothing. You slurp it up like it's a 5-star meal because, let's face it, you're starving. Of course, as soon as you're starting to feel full, Dad's off again to fetch more. The cycle repeats, waiting, eating, and trying not to freeze. Over time, you start to grow and your fluff thickens. You're waddling more confidently now, but the storms are still relentless. One wrong gust of wind, and you could find yourself sliding across the ice like a hockey puck. Fun for spectators? Not so much for you. Now that you're a few weeks old, it's time to start testing your balance, or at least trying to walk without immediately face planting. Walking on ice is tricky when you've got feet that are way too big for your body, but hey, you're a penguin. Awkward waddling is kind of your thing. The cold is still unbearable, but you're getting used to it. This is your life now. Endless snow, biting wind, and absolutely no chance of a warm beach vacation. But at least you're getting better at moving without falling over. Small wins. By summer, it's time to take the plunge. Literally. You're leaving the colony and heading to the ocean for the first time. This is your big moment, a chance to prove you've got what it takes to survive. But as soon as you hit the water, reality smacks you in the face. It's freezing. Like brain-numbingly cold. And as if that wasn't bad enough, there are leopard seals lurking beneath the surface, waiting to make a snack out of you. The good news? You're a natural swimmer. Your flippers, which made walking a nightmare, turn you into a sleek, speedy little torpedo underwater. The bad news? Leopard seals are faster. Out here, it's eat or be eaten, and you've got no intention of becoming someone else's lunch. After a few months of dodging predators and chasing fish, you're starting to feel like you've got this whole penguin thing figured out. Well, sort of. You're no longer the clueless fluffball you used to be, but you're not exactly a seasoned pro either. You're in that awkward teenage phase of life, just big enough to handle yourself, but still dumb enough to make some bad decisions. Life at sea isn't exactly relaxing. Sure, you've got freedom now, but it comes with a catch. You're completely on your own. Your days are spent hunting for fish, which sounds fun until you realize fish don't just sit there waiting for you. You have to dive, chase, and occasionally miss, all while keeping an eye out for predators. Oh, and speaking of predators, guess who's still around? That's right, leopard seals. They're bigger, faster, and sneakier than you, and they're not interested in friendly conversation. The moment you spot one, your only option is to hightail it out of there like your life depends on it because, well, it does. And then there's the plastic. It drifts around the ocean like some kind of underwater junkyard. A plastic bag floats by, and for a second, you think it might be food. It's shiny, it's wiggling. How bad could it be? But no, something deep in your penguin brain tells you to stay away, and honestly, you should listen. One bite of that stuff, and you'll be regretting it long after it gets stuck in your stomach. Survival is hard enough without adding human trash to the mix. Loneliness? Yeah, that's a thing too. You spend months swimming solo, only occasionally bumping into other juvenile penguins. And when you do, it's not exactly a heartfelt reunion. They're too busy trying to catch fish or avoid becoming seal snacks to stop and chat. But hey, at least you're still alive. Out here, that's an accomplishment all by itself. After a few years of the solo ocean life, something inside you says it's time to head back to where it all began. Maybe it's instinct, or maybe you've just had enough of dodging predators on your own. Either way, you're going back to the colony, and oh boy, it's just as noisy and chaotic as you remember. But this time, you're not here to shiver and beg for food. You're here to find a mate. Easy, right? Wrong. The place is packed with penguins, all trying to impress each other with their waddles and calls. You'd better hope your waddle game is strong because the competition is fierce. The stakes? A lifetime of raising chicks, sharing body heat, and regurgitating fish for someone else. Romantic. Eventually, you find a match, someone who tolerates your awkwardness and agrees to partner up. Together, you take on the next big challenge, raising a chick. Your first job is to take turns guarding the egg, which means standing there for weeks, keeping it warm, and trying not to lose your mind. You think back to your dad doing the same thing all those years ago and finally get why he always looked so tired. As an adult emperor penguin, you've reached the top of the Antarctic food chain, which sounds impressive until you realize that just means you're less likely to get eaten than most things. You've seen it all. The storms, the predators, the endless hunger, and somehow you've survived. But don't get too comfortable. Time has a funny way of slowing you down. Your flippers, once powerful and fast, feel a little heavier these days. Hunting takes more effort, and you're not as sharp as you used to be. The cold seems colder, and even your trusty waddle isn't as reliable. One day, as you dive for fish, you spot a leopard seal. It's a familiar dance. You've done this 100 times before. But this time, something feels different. You're just a little too slow. Maybe you make it out alive, or maybe you don't. Either way, you know you're not invincible anymore. Life as an emperor penguin doesn't end with a big dramatic moment. Most don't die in some epic battle with a predator. They just get old, slow, and tired. One day, the ice or the ocean takes them back, and the cycle starts all over again.